Okay.
All right, so welcome to the A Blip in Time workshop. All right, so today we have Nicole with us. So she's one of 12 artists that's taking part in the A Blip in Time showcase. All right, which is a showcase that's gonna happen from 1st to 14 April at Jurong Regional Library. Okay, so if you want to see the show up close, it's gonna be there live, and we're gonna actually invade the library, all possible corners you can find artworks. All right, so Nicole here is gonna maybe walk us through this little project of hers called a Moo in Time. All right, and we are actually gonna create one of these creatures that she is producing for the show. Right, so without further ado, maybe we'll just have Nicole introduce herself, as well as we can start the craft.
Okay. Hello, guys, everyone who's here. I'm Nicole Phua. I'm a performance artist, and sometimes I like to craft a bit. And recently have been picking up sewing. And so for the artwork that I'm doing for A Blip in Time, the exhibition at Jurong Regional Library, I'm doing a bunch of these cows. Now they are not very decorated yet because it's still in the process. And today in this workshop between Moo and You, we're going to craft not the same as this, but more on imaginary cows that take the form of your body. So this is actually the shape of my hand. It's a thumb. It's a thumb cow. So we are going to craft it using, you can use your hand, or you can, if you want to be more adventurous, you can use your feet. This is a feet cow. You can see it's the shape of a feet, and he has 5 toes and the tail. So let's start with a material check first. Make sure that everyone has their fabric. You can use any fabric that you want. You can use an old t-shirt, or a blanket, or a handkerchief. Just make sure that you have enough to do 2 layers, because for the cow, there's the front and the back. It's made of using 2 pieces of fabric that will sew around the sides. And then next, you need your needle. Don't use a fat needle, because it might tear the fabric if you put the stuffing in. So use a skinnier one. And then I have fabric markers, but you can use acrylic paint, or if you have more time, you can use darker fabric for doing up the spots. So depending on your material, some fabric markers might not suit the fabric that you're using. So the best and most clear on fabric kind of material is acrylic paint, like that. It'll be very dark, and it won't wash off because it dries waterproof. And then next, I have this special tool to help me thread the string into my needle easier, but you can just take your time and thread it. We don't have it. And I have some pins here to help the 2 fabrics stick together help the 2 fabric put all together while I'm sewing, so it doesn't move around and have a weird picture in the end. I will be using a dark colored string, although my fabric is light, because it's easier to show you on camera. But you should use a color that is similar to your fabric if you have. And then one option for the eyes is to use buttons. You don't have to use buttons if you have paint or fabric marker like this. If you want smaller eyes, don't use buttons. If you want bigger eyes, and this is what with button looks like, and the mouth is also sewed on. So depend on the look that you're going for. You want the more derpy kind of look, or you want the more serious kind of look. They're both cute, either way. And then lastly, scissors. You don't have to use such a big scissors, but this is the best one for cutting fabric. and cotton. You can use any stuffing that you want. It can be an old t-shirt or tissue paper or cotton ball. I'm using cotton that is used to fill in plushies. So the lifespan of my cow will be longer. If you use beans or rice, then your cow might like change in form in a few years or months. So depend on what you use or what you have on hand. Okay, so let's start off with the shape of our cow. So here are a few examples of the shape that you can use. You have to, you can either use your hand to help guide you on the shape of the cow, or you can just draw it on your fabric. But you have to take note that if you do the tail, if you make the tail downwards, it might be hard to stuff. It might be hard to put your stuffing inside. Let me see if I have an example. This. A downward tail is harder to stuff in as compared to an upward tail. So you have to like decide on where you want to put your tail. But it should be at the back, not on the head. And there are different, you can do any shape that you want. Just make sure that your cow has a head, one head, 4 legs, and 1 tail. But if you want to do 5 legs or 6 legs or 2 head or 3 head, it's up to you. This is your cow. So I'm going to make one. I'm going to start off with using my fabric here. I have this piece of polyester fabric and I have another piece. So I layer both on. Put it up on your table first. And I'm going to use my hand to help me guide the shape of the cow. So the cow's head could be my thumb, and the 4 legs are the rest of my 4 fingers. And then the tail will be somewhere here. So for this, it will be similar to the shape of this. If you want to use your feet, you can use your feet. Imagine this hand is a feet, and then your big toe and the rest of your small toe. You can make the big toe on top also. So it depends on how you want to do your cow. I'm going to put my hand here and I'm going to use a marker. Use something that you can see when you draw onto the fabric. If it's too light, you can see. So I'm not going to go too close to my fingers because if I'm doing that, my cow will be very, very skinny. And I think a fatter cow would be better. Everybody likes fat cows. So I'm going to open up my fingers like that. This is the form of my cow. Okay. And I'm going to go around outside. So my hand is only a guide. I'm going to go outside. So I'm going to do a big head here. When I sew, I might sew closer, not too far away. And then don't forget to put a tail at the back. So I'm going to extend this out. My tail will go upward. You can make your tail skinnier. I'm drawing it a little bit extra so that when I sew and when I cut away, there's still room. Okay, now I'm going to use my pin to secure it first before I start to sew. Secure the outside. Because later it will start to move and then it will be difficult to pair up the 2 fabrics. If you don't have pin, it's okay. Just make sure that the 2 fabrics don't move around when you are sewing it. Let me put the pins on first. If I'm going too fast, please let me know in the chat. can be done for any other animals also, not just cows. You can do a pig or a dog or cat. A cat-like creature. It won't be exactly like a cat. Okay, so I have this. At the end of, after we are done sewing, right? You have to flip this one inside out. So it's okay that there's the marker lines here. We'll flip it inside out and the marker lines will not be seen. Or if the marker is too obvious, because my material is polyester, the marker can be seen on the other side. I'll make sure to sew inside the marker and not out of the marker. And when we sew, right, leave this gap open from here to here. Don't sew this part yet. So we will sew from here all the way from the head to the 4 legs, and after the tail, this part should be not sewed yet, because we will do another kind of stitch on that, so that we have space to flip it inside out and to put the stuffing. Okay, so I'm gonna take my thread and put it through a needle. Everyone okay? I'm gonna use the threading tool to help me put the string into the needle easily. You can on your mic and your camera if you want me to see how yours is going. Take a comfortable amount of thread. Don't take too little, because if not, you have to repeat the process. So I'm taking quite a lot. From the beginning of the thread to the end of the thread, I'm going to do a knot. So I cut here. This is the needle. The thread has been looped through the needle. This is the beginning and the end of the thread. So I'm going to knot it. Use your finger and pinch. Do a twist and you add it in. Knot it a few times, like 3 or 4 times, so that it won't go through the fabric. So twist it through. Twist, put it through and pull. Make sure that the first knot and the second knot drop together. So the knot will go bigger and bigger. I'm gonna do it for 4 or 5 times. Okay, so you can see the knot here. This will be the stopper to prevent the thread from going through all the way. I'm gonna cut the extra off. Let me mark out where we should sew and where to stop. So I will start here. I put A, point A, and I will end here, point B. Between point A and point B, we'll do another stitch. That is after we flip it inside out and put the stuffing. When the cow has gained a little bit of weight. Okay, so I'm gonna start sewing. I'll show you a simple way to sew if you don't know how to sew. From the underneath, I'm not gonna cut my fabric first because I want to sew first, then cut. If I cut first, I might cut too much and then I can't fix it. So sew first and cut will be easier. From the bottom of the fabric, we go underneath with the needle. I go to point A. I'll go slightly beneath point A, slightly under point A. Because I don't want the fabric, the marker part that I draw to be inside my cow in the end. So from the bottom, you see my needle coming through. I pull all the way. And on the right side of the fabric, the right side of where I did my first thread. And with my left hand, my index finger, I push it through the top. So from the right side to the left side. See this? Then you pull. That is your first stitch. The back will look like that. Then you repeat the process all the way. So when you thread up, you will leave a space in between your first point to your third point. Then go back. And then use your left hand index finger. Push it up. Don't poke your hand. Then you pull. Second stitch. Then you continue going. Do not leave the gap between each stitch too big because your stuffing may fall out or like may pop out if you put too much. It might pop out through the gaps. So we continue doing that all around. It might take about 10 to 15 minutes because you have to stitch one by one. So in between that, let's talk about random cow facts. So do you know that cows, wait. Cows are very fragile and sensitive animals. And if you take the baby away from the mother cow, they must feel very sad. Can I see the back again? This is the back. Okay, sorry. This is the front. This will be inside the cow. So the stitch, even if the stitch is messy, it's okay. Make sure that it's tight. If it's not tight, then your stuffing might all fall out. Okay. Cows are, the name of cow is only for cattle who have become mothers. Cattle who are not mothers are called heifers. Heifers or heifers. And then cattle who are babies, they are called cows. Cattle who are males are called bulls. So cow is a very specific name only for female mother cattle. Before 1984, there were no milking machines. So farmers have to milk the cows one by one every day, and it will take 1 hour to milk 6 cows by hand. But now, with all the technology and advancement in the animal agriculture and dairy farms, it will take one person 1 hour to milk 100 cows. So imagine how many cows are there in the farm, in the dairy farm, being milked every day, every hour. If you need me to repeat the process of stitching, steps of how to stitch, you stitch, you can tell. It can be done by a sewing machine. That will be way faster. This is done by using a sewing machine. Just remember that to leave a gap between the top, the point A and point B, so that you can flip it inside out. You can use like a pencil or a paintbrush to press out the legs. Because when you flip it inside out, it will be like an inverted sock. So you have to press out the leg and then you put it stuck. What happens if I already cut the shape? It's okay. Just make sure that at the end of your sewing, right, you leave a bit of gap. The gap is very important. If you don't leave a gap, you sew like directly at the end, your fabric might tear in after a while. Like it will not last because the gap between the fabric and the stitch is too small. It's too close together. But make sure you have enough space for your stuffing within your cow, because if not, I think your cow will be too small. You can do any size you want actually, but it would be hard to add a stuffing in the cow if it's too small. So I'm almost done with the stitching of the head. Baby cow now. It's okay. I have a baby cow too. But it's still the size of my hand. How baby is your cow? Baby cow will be cute. Do you guys have a favorite animal? Obviously, my favorite animal is a cow. But what about you? I think from young I have liked cows because I think that they are very similar to humans. Although they look different, but their life is quite similar. Because when a cattle becomes pregnant with a baby, it's about 9 to 10 months, very similar to humans. And then also after the calf is born, they need their mother's support, like milk and emotional support, and the mother to be present. The mother has to take care of the calf. But one thing that I envy about cows is that they can make milk out of grass. That is very incredible. And they have 4 stomachs. Didn't know. Cow has 4 stomachs. I wish I had 4 stomachs so I can eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, and supper together. Your favorite is bunny and unicorn. Unicorn is an animal? Question mark. I think unicorn is a magical creature. Elephants are cool. I think elephants are more majestic than lions. When you're in the corner like this, right, do your stitch smaller. If you do your stitch too big, when you flip inside out, the neck or the part that is curved will look kind of odd. So make your stitch smaller inside so that you will have a better curve. Mythical animal, yeah, can. So I'm doing a curve. Look at how I leave a gap between my marker line and my sewing. So when I cut, I will cut on my marker line or a little bit further than my marker line. It will be inside out anyway. That's the gap to leave. For some reason, kids like unicorn. Yeah, because they're so pretty. Sometimes they are rainbow color. They like ponies and unicorns. How is everyone's sewing going along? Is it easy to follow? I've sold like over 20 over cows, so a little bit of practice. At first, it isn't that neat. Pegasus? Is Pegasus the one with wings? The white one with wings. Unicorn is the one with the horn but no wings. Imagine a cow with horns and wings. That would be a strange time. Make sure you don't pull your stitch too tight. If not, you will have some folds. It will look a bit weird, a bit tight. So you can tug on your string, but not too hard. So I'm reaching my first leg already. My head is done. First leg. Wow. I think it's fun to sew something once each day or like at least once a week. Practice using your hands more. Nowadays, I use my hands more on my phone and it's not fun. Sewing can help you move your hand a bit more. Move your fingers. Now my thread is getting shorter and shorter. Before it gets too short, I will do a knot and get more thread. But now I still can. Make sure your thread don't get tangled because you're looping in and out. You might get tangled. Do I give them away? If I make enough, I might give some away to people I know. You want me to give you one? They are part of my artwork that will be in the Jurong Regional Library. So I have 7 of these same cows. They have ears, so they kind of look like a pig now because they don't have face and spots yet. So this will be on the mobile and it will move. And it will move on a mobile. A mobile is like something that you give to a baby to attract its attention. So it will turn like that. So these seven of these are part of the artwork. While the rest of these are my experiments, making different kind of cows with different parts of your body, like your hands and your feet. Maybe eventually I'll use my face and my ears someday, but I don't know. I'm still trying out. I have a sewing machine. That's why it interests me to do more sewing, because my sewing machine has been collecting dust. So I try with different kind of faces. Got smiley face. They are mostly smiley face. This is sewed on smiley face. Button face. Happy face. In this, there's rice. This is because I sew the leg too skinny. I can't put the stuffing in. So I thought of using another dry material to put in the leg that is small enough. So yeah, this cow has kind of heavy legs. Every cow is different. Some have shorter legs, some have longer legs. They are all experiments. I have a lot of cow things at home, so more cow things doesn't hurt. Fabricated by 3D printer with different colors and textures. I have tried at the Makers Lab at Jurong Regional Library. I have tried one of my stuffed toy, this one, has been 3D scanned. And then it's possible to 3D print it, but because the material is different, this is soft, the 3D printed one will be hard. The folds might not be captured as well. But I think the essence is still there, it will still look like this, but it will just be harder. I think fabric one, there's a familiarity to it. It's like a pillow, it's like a plush. If it's something that is hard, it might feel strange, like a statue that you shouldn't touch. The tall one you show can change to a giraffe. Yeah, that's the feet cow. This is the shape of my feet. You must be born in the year of the cow. That's right. This year is my year. I'm 24 this year. So I was born to like cows. I think cows are very inspiring because they are very resilient. Resilient and peaceful actually. You don't need to bother them. They can just graze the cow all day and they can sleep standing up. They just need to keep chewing and chewing every day and they can produce milk. I'm saying the kind of cows that have touched grass before, not the kind that is in the factory and never see cow before. See grass before. Have you guys seen a cow in real life before? There's actually 3 or 4 cow farms in Singapore, if you are from Singapore. At this point, I'm going to put it through. Once your string is getting too short and if you continue going and going, your string might not be able to knot and it will just keep unraveling backwards. So at this point, I'm going to do a knot at the back. So this is the back. Before my string gets too short, and I'm going to knot it down. So you just put the needle through a loop. You use your finger, loop it, to about 3 or 4 times, similar to how we did a knot just now. Loosen it back. Okay. Repeat the process. So back with the needle. I'm gonna put more thread inside. Buffaloes. I've never seen a buffalo in real life. Buffaloes. I don't really know much about buffaloes. I know more about dairy cows. I think cows are the kind of animal that humans have the most benefit out of, because aside from their milk and their meat, we also have a lot of beef byproducts that are in our everyday items. And they benefit humankind, or like human have exploited cows a lot more than other animals. The whole body of a cow is used. I do quite a bit of research on cows because I think that they're interesting to understand. They have a language similar to humans, but it's just that they don't have speech. Then I read a children's book about cow, and it's quite funny that they say whenever you speak to a cow, the cow wants to respond to you, but it forgets things so easily that it didn't have enough time to respond back. That was quite fun. Put this thread into the needle first. Serious. My thread is tangled. Difficult. How is the sewing going along, everyone? I think this might take more than an hour. What is a water cow? Water cow is buffalo. I should sew a little bit faster. Some days I take the whole day to sew cows. Just so I give myself enough time to get creative with the cows. If I give myself an hour or like 2 hours to sew a cow, I think my cow will look the same every day. Okay, let me continue. Ready to look. So same as just now. After the end of my thread, I'll go through again with my left hand. I take sewing as like a meditative process. So some animal friends for my cows. I only sew cows for my cows. I haven't tried sewing other animals, but I should try. Maybe with the same shape and form, but in a different color and with different textures or patterns. Take this time to feel each stitch. Put effort into each stitch. Not every day that you can be so peaceful on a Sunday afternoon, sewing. When you're done with sewing, the whole thing, like to the end, to point B. So remember there was point A and point B. Now we're only halfway. So in case we have to end session a bit earlier, let me explain how to continue. So we are going to stitch all the way to point B, right? This is point B, and you end your stitch here. You do the knot again for 3 to 4 times. And then you will have something like, let me show you with an empty one. You will flip it inside out. You will flip the cow inside out, and you will have this. After you put the stuff in, you will have this opening. Okay, so this is already been stuffed. You have to, after this, you cut around, you flip it inside out, and you have this after your stuffing too. Then a way to, and before you put your stuffing, if you want to put button as your eyes, you should sew the buttons on before you put the stuffing. You sew the buttons on when it's inside out. And when you have this after your stuffing, let me put a pin to show you. You can use a pin to help you close it up while you sew. Sew an invisible stitch. And your fabric should be similar color to your bag. So when you sew the invisible stitch, you cannot see it. Another way is to sew the invisible stitch outside. Then you got this line like the cow's hair. This is an easier way, but if you want a more neat way, then you sew it inside. So this is already been stitched together. You can't see the lines, but this is the outside stitch. Depend on how you want the look of it to be. So you can continue with the stitching on your cow first, while I show you how to do an invisible stitch in case you're too fast, in case you finish already with them. Okay, so let me close up this so I can use the needle again. So closing up is easy also. You do a knot through, let me loosen it up first. You do a knot through and close You have to hold it down. So use your hand, turn, needle through, use your finger to press it down. So 3 to 4 times. That's how you close it. Then you snip off the extra. And I'll show you how to do the invisible stitch. Let me knot the end of my thread first. Okay, so the knot. To do invisible stitch, don't overstuff your cow. If you overstuff your cow will be too plump, and then you might have some trouble closing in. So I will use my pin again. This is what it should look like first. Then from the inside, I'll try to show you. From the inside, poke this out. From here. Through. The knot should be inside. The knot at the end of the thread should be inside. Then you go through from the top. And from inside you come out. Make sure your string don't get tangled with the tail. And pull. Wait, I'm doing it the reverse way. Wait. Wrong. Let me try again. I'm not a professional sewing person. I just test only, crafter. Okay, wait again. Go from inside. You have to pull it quite hard. Like you have to tug on it. Not just go through. So again, going through here. I will have to fold it down a bit more. I think my thread can be seen from the outside. That's okay. I'll fold it in. Do you guys sew regularly? Or no different types of stitches? This is how to close. Oh, sorry, can't see. Let me zoom. This is how to close. Press it down. I'll press this inside bit down so I can have a tighter. This part I can get a bit messy. This is one way. Another way is to go under. See, go in. And you go through from the other way. So this is the invisible one. This is the not invisible. Not invisible. So in, I think this takes a lot more work than the stitching just now. But it will have a clean closure. You have to pull it tighter. That's why we make sure we have extra fabric at the end. So that we can do this. Remember to pull it. How is your sewing going? Are you reaching the third or fourth leg or the tail already? If you are, remember to invert your cowl so that the inside will be outside. One more time. We cross in, exit. Wait, exit here. And you pull through. You can see the previous stitches. When you pull tighter, it will disappear. It's obvious because it's black, but if you use the color of the thread similar to the color of the fabric, you can see it. You should finish the sewing and the stuffing first before you put your print. I think that's the better way so that you can see the whole form and shape before you add the spots in the face. That will be more complete. If you put the spots in the face after you before you sew, then it might look different from what you imagine. So remember the stuffing put back in here. The invisible stitch. When I'm at the end of the stitch, I'll always go through the whole thing. So this one go back in, right? Will exit from another stitch. Like I will exit from here because I cannot knot it. If I knot it, the knot will be outside. So I'll exit from somewhere else. Like I'll pass the needle through the whole thing. Make sure that my stitches are tight. Make sure that my stitches are tight. Then I pull and I go through the whole cowl. So I'll come back. Then I'll pull it through with the leg. Find the spot. Yeah, I'll go it through the leg. So that you don't have to knot it. You can just go through the whole thing. And I'll go through the other end. Because this is a squishy cow, you can press it down. Depending on what you put inside. Yeah, so this is the easier way, you don't have to knot. The lines will not be that obvious if your string is the same, similar color to your fabric. It's only because I'm using a black one. So this will help close it up. This should be your last step. Okay, so the end will be on my foot and I'll cut it. And then the end of that string will just fall back into the plush. Disappear. This is how you sew a cow. Not a cow, a creature that looks like a cow. If you want to make more, you can start adding ears. Adding ear is the difficult part because it's hard to add the stuffing in and it's hard to get the corners to fold nicely. My corners are not that nice because I'm still trying to learn how to make it better. But the tail is okay. And the leg, there's always this fold on the leg because of how much I stuff and the corner that I sew. Yeah. So there are many different kind of shape and sizes that you can sew your cow into. These are some examples.
Okay, I think all right, so I guess that will be all for Nicole's cow tutorial today. So in fact, I think I just spent an hour making this.
And see? Nice.
All right,
How do you stitch it so fast?
so this is done using felt. I mean, if you like to, of course, it's always nice to experiment with different kinds of materials. Okay, so yeah, so we have come to the end of the session today. So maybe I'll just stop the recording.